pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I have no additions or changes to the agenda.
I would move for approval.
I will second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda. At the minutes, commissioner warrants, add-ons, auditor warrants, and the hospital warrants.
Mr. Chair, move for approval.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Steve, resolution on proclamation of County Staff Appreciation Day.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and board members, you should have that first item in your packet this morning. I did mention this 2 weeks ago at our last meeting that due to AMC's assistance, they got the governor to make today a County Staff Appreciation Day. So I did mention that I would bring back a resolution today to recognize Pipestone County staff as our for Appreciation Day. And we're going to have the dilly bars for staff today. So I recommend that the board approve this resolution as presented.
Mr. Chair, I would like to move that we approve the resolution.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We certainly do want to thank all our staff for hanging in there this last year and a half. A tough fall, but we seem to get through it. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, on a somewhat related subject, I don't know if the message is out yet or not, but you all know that this weekend is Water Tower Festival weekend. And the committee on that appoints the Grand Marshal has decided this year that the Grand Marshal is going to be our Sheriff's Department.
Oh, nice.
Also in recognition of the fine job that they've been doing as well. So support that and encourage you all to come out and support them Saturday as well too. I believe that they might be even in the front of the parade as Grand Marshal. So
Okay.
a few of their representatives will be there.
Very well deserved. And we can move on to Nick.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have two items today. One's the bid opening, and that has to wait till 10:30. But the other item I have is to approve the final payment for the 2021 box culverts. That contract was held by ANC Excavating out of Marshall. The original contract amount was $398,259.92. They ended up at $380,300.11. The final payment amount is $4,203.96. And the main reason for that, for coming in low there, some of the landowners did the fence themselves, so we didn't have to pay the contractor to do it. And then they didn't disturb as much of the vegetation as we thought they might have, so we didn't need as much erosion control. So
Perfect.
Mr. Chair, move for approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
all right. Any other questions for me now? Otherwise, that's all I have until 10:30. I'll stick around for the MnDOT presentation, but
Okay.
all right.
Thank you. Personnel?
Did.
Did you want to call Leanne and see if she's available? Did you want to call Leanne and see if she's available?
Oh, sure.
And I'll go grab. My request involves the recorder's office. I think Marianne wanted to come down too. So
Okay.
we're just gonna give her a call and have
Yeah.
her join us if she's free.
Okay, sounds good. while we're waiting, Steve, you want to do this JPA LiDAR agreement?
Sure. Mr. Chairman and board members, I have in front of you the joint powers agreement that for the LiDAR survey of Pipestone County next year that the board approved at the last meeting for $16,200. State requires that the board take action on this and officially adopt the joint powers agreement and authorize the chair and myself to sign it, and then we'll submit it back to the state of Minnesota.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we approve the joint powers agreement and authorize Steve to, and you as chair, to sign it on our behalf.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I don't have that in your packet.
Good job. Thank you.
Let's see. Get a hold of Mary Ann.
Nick was gonna go, tell her, because he had to run into the.
Oh, he's gonna
job
grab,
site.
okay.
Did you get that message about transit meeting tomorrow?
Just saw it this morning, yeah. That's on Zoom? Zoom?
I think it's, Steve, is transit meeting tomorrow? Is that all Zoom or are they coming here as well? It's all Zoom.
All Zoom.
Okay.
I was telling about.
Yeah. And that was on the, yeah, in fact, I brought that with me as well too, and that was the Freiberger
Right.
report of what they've done for us.
It just made me wonder.
I think they're talking about coal, because there's a number of coal plants that are closing, so I think that's what they're referring to.
What's going to replace that?
Well, the natural gas ones that they've got, and then with more and more of the renewables. But for the most part, it's the coal plants that are closing.
Okay.
Yep.
I just thought, oh, I hope we don't have a situation like Texas. where-
Oh, no. Well, and that's so different because Texas is non-regulated as well, is why.
Right, and I know they're on their own
Yeah.
grid or whatever.
Yeah. No, that's all in compliance, but it's just phasing out the coal plants.
Okay.
Marianne is out today.
Okay.
So I will just present this.
Okay.
In the recorder's office, we have Peyton Berghorst working as a temporary employee. She worked 67 calendar days last year and then 67 calendar days this year, which is the definition of a temporary employee as far as public employers are concerned. So she's about 2/3 done with their scanning project. She's doing a really good job. They'd really like to keep her on to complete the project without waiting another 6 months for the new calendar year to arrive. So if we designate her as a part-time person that works less than 14 hours a week, she does not become like a regular union employee. She could still just be like a part-time employee that works for the county. And she has not exceeded 14 hours a week at all this year, so we don't see that being a problem at all. She comes in, she's got a couple other jobs as well, and she comes in when she has some free time. So we would like to request that the board basically designate Peyton as a part-time employee that works less than 14 hours per week. And then she is aware that the job will end once this project is complete. unless for some reason another project comes up within the county. And then we would also like to request to raise her pay. Right now, she's at $12 an hour, and increase that to $14 per hour in conjunction with this part-time designation change.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that a motion.
Okay,
I'll second that motion. What's her designation now?
She's a temporary
Okay.
employee.
So
Yep,
it's
so we need to
temp to
change her
PD.
from a temporary employee to a part-time employee. So,
And then going forward then, so still she'll be part-time as we move forward. You said that this has got an end date on it. Do you anticipate the necessity of maybe bringing her on full-time at some point down the road, or is that too far to speculate?
I doubt it.
Okay.
I don't know if that's her goal either, to be full-time.
No.
it's more project specific.
Yeah, it's a project-specific job.
Okay.
So, but I know Marianne is happy with what she's completed so far, and at the end of this project, they'll have all their records online now, which will be great. So,
And now as a part-time employee with less than 14 hours, did you say?
yep,
So she's not entitled to any specific vacation, PTO benefits of any kind?
correct. Yep, that leaves her out of PERA, vacation and sick leave, any of our insurance benefits, so it would just be wages.
And budget-wise, there's money in the budget for her part-time status?
Yes, yep.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, Kathy and I and Marianne had a real good meeting about this last week. And Peyton is doing this she's got at least 2 other part-time jobs she works too, and she fits this in. You might remember a couple of years ago, Marianne had did the same thing, and we had a couple of part-time school teachers over the summertime do it. Unfortunately, they didn't get as far as they wanted to, and she's got, I believe she said, like 30 books left for Peyton to scan, something like that. So we did agree and thought it was a good idea. I thought it was a good idea too to bring this to the board too and have her brought on to get this done.
Very good.
Me, any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And then just an announcement, Pat Baker will be starting next week as a building and grounds maintenance worker. So he is starting next Monday. I think that's all I have for hiring updates. So,
Sounds good.
all right.
Thank you.
It'll get broken in really well, starting with the fair next week.
Tentative 2022 budget year department head meeting schedule.
Mr. Chairman, in your package, you should have a couple of pages of budget information. And before I send it out to all the department heads, I wanted to bring it to the board so you guys could take a look at the dates I'm suggesting and check your schedules and see if there's anything that I'm missing that won't work. So my plan at this point, very similar to the last several years, is to have meetings at our August 10th meeting and then have an afternoon session. That would be the second Tuesday, so it'd be a normal board meeting. That would be a long day. We'd bang out quite a few of them at that date. Then I didn't put anything for the August 24th meeting, unless we can get something in during the meeting, but since you have hospital board in the afternoon, I didn't schedule anything there. But I did schedule a special meeting for the 5th Tuesday, since there's usually nothing going on the 5th, so if we could hit those department heads in the morning of that. And then I also scheduled, again, September 14th at our regular board meeting to finish up with Demaine and Susan and Jody and Tyler. These can change depending on their availability as well. But the main thing was basically the dates is what I was
Okay,
trying
and
to
the one
get from
after
the board.
that, that says September 22nd should actually be the 28th.
The 28th is Tuesday, the 22nd is a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, on the other schedule one, yeah.
Right. Then do we need to pick a day for truth and taxation?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Not at this time. The only thing I'm looking at right now is if the dates of August 10th, possibly the 24th, the 31st and the 14th will work for the commissioners for meetings.
I think so. Does it
Should work.
yeah?
I can make it work.
Okay.
I think so. That fifth Tuesday, I maybe was thinking about leaving town, but we'll see. That's tentative. I can maybe just postpone that.
Don't give very many fifth Tuesdays, so.
No.
Is it like 2 a year or something?
Yeah.
4?
So I could also, we could also work through that if that doesn't work to the 31st, so we can leave it tentatively set at this time. We don't have to notify that until we get closer to the date
Yep.
anyway, so we'll get into August and see where we're at, if that's okay.
Okay.
So, no formal action is taken if this, by consensus, you guys are okay
Okay.
with the dates.
And then I guess if there's nothing else, we could recess until 10. Now Lindsay comes. Morning.
Okay, recorder's on.
All right.
Okay. Sure. Yep. Yeah. Okay, great. I'll take one. Yep. And then I'll take these.
Thank you.
I would do.
You might want to do that. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
It's great to see you all in person after a while of just being at home forever. So, I'm Lindsay Brewer. I'm District 8's Planning Director. I'll let Megan introduce
Megan
herself.
DeShepper, I'm the principal planner. I've been here before.
Yes, yes.
Couple of
Actually,
years
it's
ago.
been a little while for me because I think the other year I had another board meeting, and then the year before that I was out on maternity leave, and I'll be doing that again soon. So
Congratulations.
busy time. But we are here to share our 10-year plan of projects with you, and this year we asked all the county engineers if you maybe would like to hear a little bit of some other information along with the upcoming projects. And a lot of that information kind of ties back into what we select for projects. So thought it was a good, have some good information about
Thank you, Megan.
how we select projects and kind of our processes at MnDOT. Okay. Go. And everything on the screen is printed in this handout as well. First, wanted to share kind of our annual funding that District 8 specifically gets for all of our projects, and some development of our projects too. You'll see that the funding varies per year from this year of 2022 all the way to the end of our 10-year horizon of 2031, ranging from the low to mid 30 million to the biggest year would be 2028 of 68 million, a little over 68 million. And the reason for that is that it varies so much is because we get money to manage our what we call our NHS, the National Highway System, so the higher volume roadways, really, like 23, 12, 212, and then that is given to us centrally. So we don't always get to decide what those projects are, or we don't have much control over how much money that is. So that's why our allocation varies per year. The other funding that the district is more in charge of is for those non-NHS roadways, the lower volume roads, so 75, 30, roads like that, and that stays more consistent. But so that's the reason for the variation. These funding targets also do not include special solicitations or outside programs like corridors of commerce, or like federal solicitations like the Wilmer Y project for Tiger funds. This is just our baseline funding. So some years it's a little bit more than this, depending on if we get outside funding.
So if you were to get some outside funding, do you ever upgrade some potential projects, or?
It depends. And I know we've kind of talked about this before, probably specifically for '23. Some of the funding has obviously different rules for it. If it's bonding, it has to be a 20-year project. So like a mill and overlay wouldn't count, but a
Right.
reconstruction would, or a longer life fix. But it all depends on what the rules of the funding are. How fast do you need to spend it? Some solicitations, you have to spend the money within a couple years. So sometimes if you upscope, that's the best way to do it because you've already been working on the project. Sometimes, and what we like the best is kind of that longer term, overall increase so that you can just plan it in your normal project processes. So you're just maybe getting more projects than you would otherwise. So it all depends, which I know is not, concrete answer, but that's really how it is. It depends on what the money is.
Sure.
So kind of a bigger perspective on our funding, besides just what the district decides to do, is MnDOT's overall investment direction, which is decided through our 20-year investment plan called MNCHIP. The agency's updating that right now, and you all will, in the next couple months, probably through the winter, have an opportunity to give your input on that and participate in that. And I really encourage you to do that because it literally sets the direction on where those dollars go and what projects you see in the future. It doesn't pick projects, but it assigns dollars to investment categories, so pavement, bridge, roadside infrastructure, safety, and they're actually looking at maybe new categories of like main streets or urban reconstructions, things like that. So it won't say, we have this project, this project, this project, but it allocates money to those types of investments, which then, is where your projects come from. What I've put in the slide is the investment direction that we are going on right now that was set in the 2017 update. And so, you'll see we don't really get to decide to spend more on any given category. We're supposed to stay within these percentages. For our program, we can deviate a little bit. And you'll see, in this program, we do have a little bit more, we've been doing some urban work because of partnerships with cities and needing to get at utilities, and so we maybe slightly deviated to spend more there and less in other areas, but we can't deviate too much. So, and then this investment direction also does not include any of the discretionary funds or the other programs, kind of like I talked about before. So, I wanted to talk about condition of our network right now and what we expect to see over the life of our 10-year plan, because right now things look pretty good as far as our pavements and bridges go, but what I've mostly focused on here is pavements. We measure them in a variety of ways, but for project selection we use what's called Ride Quality Index, so RQI, and that is just a measure of how smooth or rough the road surface is. So a van drives it every year, we get a RQI rating. Anything under 2 is in poor condition. Anything above 3 is in good condition. And so you can see a lot of our roads right now are in good condition. And this data is a little bit old too. So you'll see like the 23 project from Cottonwood to Granite was still in fair condition. And now it's in good because it was redone. Because this is 2020 data, which actually means it's probably from the van the year before. But so you can see as far as RQI goes, we're looking pretty good right now. Then another measure is remaining service life. And what this measures is basically the life left in your pavement. So not just what you feel on the surface, but how much life is actually left in that particular pavement. And this is looking a little bit worse, and kind of a sign of things to come. And so, sorry, getting ahead of myself. So you see a lot more yellow, you see some red. Again, this data too is a little bit older. Doesn't include our projects probably, for sure not this year and not last year. So, but if we look at our performance numbers from now until the end of our 10-year plan, 2031, I mean, these numbers too show our current condition is really good for pavements in poor condition. You know, not even 1% in poor condition. So that's really, really good. But go to the end of the 10 years, and we're at almost 19% of our lower volume roadways, so that non-NHS system, almost 19% of the roads are going to be in poor. Last year, it was almost 12%, and so we really jumped from one year to the next. So we are taking steps right now to reevaluate the program. I will say this is kind of a worst case scenario because it does not include preventive maintenance. If we don't have a project identified, it can't decide what road to put that on, so the model, it just kicks it out. Whereas we have money budgeted for it, but it's not identified yet. And it doesn't include, you know, any future monies that we may get. We always know we get more money in the STIP years, in those first 4 years, than what we plan for in the last 6 years. So I'd say this is a worst case scenario, but the district's taking this very seriously because it's a really high percentage. So we're looking at what we might do next year. You might see our program change from what we show today to when we come back next year because of this. And you'll see for our pavements in good condition too. Right now, you know, 81% in good on both systems. By the end of the chip, you know, for those non-NHS pavements, the lower volume roads, only, you know, nearly 45% will be in good condition. So we're dropping in the good. And again, preventive maintenance helps to keep those good roads in good condition. So we're, again, going to try to do that. But we really need to start fixing some of the poor roads.
Do you think other districts in the state would be similar, or do you think that
it ebbs and flows. So right now, this data is given to all the districts, and we met, I think, in March to go over this, and we were the worst right now. But 3 years ago, District 1 and District 7 were the worst, and at that time, they did get a little bit extra money to help address the issue, and we might get that next year. The discussion this year was that we'd monitor over this next year and reevaluate if we would get a boost. So that would be other districts giving us money to.
Where are districts 1 and 7?
Sorry, I should have said District 1, their headquarters is in Duluth, Arrowhead region, and District 7 is Mankato area, all the way in Rock and what's the other county? Something here. Yes, thank you. Those two are also in District 7.
So all 3 were outstate districts.
Yep. Metros, their non-NHS pavement is pretty poor too. However, their lower volume roadways are typically like city streets, and so they kind of just ignore the bad numbers, because when you drive slower, even though your number is bad, it doesn't feel as bad to the drivers because they're driving slower. So we kind of just live with the bad numbers in the metro, which is actually good for the rest of us, right? But so, yeah, And they are, statewide, we are working on kind of a way to measure in-town poor pavements, because like I said, when you drive slower, it just doesn't feel as bad as when you're driving, 60 miles an hour. So maybe more to come on that, but, so then I'll show you kind of the same data for bridges. We are doing better as far as the poor for bridges. We don't have too many poor condition bridges, although you do see an uptick towards the end of the 10 years on the NHS bridges. And part of that is because right now in Duluth, they have the Blatnick Bridge programmed, and it's so expensive. So nobody else is getting bridge money. Again, right now there's discussions to potentially fund that another way. Maybe the legislature funds it, or a federal grant or something that we're hoping, and then everybody else can get, the money that was tied up there. So maybe this will change. But what you do see is the green bars are starting to decline. So the bridges in good condition are declining. The number of fair bridges are going up, and you are seeing some in poor condition by the end of our 10-year horizon. We are doing, and we started this maybe 5 years ago, doing preventive maintenance on bridges to keep those in good condition too. So a lot of painting and cleaning and things like that, versus like a full rehab of the bridge. This is more minor work, but again, to keep them in good condition longer. So this, again, doesn't reflect that because they're not always identified further out. So again, kind of worst case scenario. And then those lower volume roads, you do see some poor bridges, but we're still within our target for poor. So that's pretty good. Again, you see the good condition dropping and the fair condition going up, but not nearly as concerning as our pavements. And in District 8, we don't have a lot of the big bridges like some of the other districts do on the eastern side of the state, where you're crossing the Mississippi or things like that. So that's why
Are poor bridges ever in danger of collapse or closure?
No, so these wouldn't be like critical, just in poor condition, and it might only be one element of the bridge too. So if it was, we'd have to close it down or do load restrictions or something. We've had maybe a handful over the years where we've done load restrictions on them. Yeah, but poor doesn't mean critical. So yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So then to kind of touch on our project selection process, it really is driven by this data that you've seen for pavement and bridges. So we've started out with a need, and then we kind of define the project from there. But the legislature put in place a policy where we had to do a numeric scoring of projects. I think this came out of the 2017 legislative session. So it applied to the STIP from a couple years ago, from 2019 to 2022. That's the first time you saw a score column in our STIP. But it didn't drastically change our process. Again, we're using this need data to identify pavement and bridge projects. And then and I did link, if you want to read more on the guidance document of all the nitty-gritty details, I did link it in this too. But again, we kind of pick projects based on needs, so it might be, okay, Highway X from A to B. And then in our scoping process, we decide, what the fix is, what, culverts need to be replaced, signage, lighting, all that stuff. So those other details aren't really part of the project selection. The selection is based on the need, and then the details come through scoping. And there's 4 main categories. The largest category is asset management. So that's your pavement and bridge projects. some others that kind of don't fit into the other categories that I'll talk about. Safety, and these are standalone safety projects, so like a roundabout or J-turn or maybe a pedestrian crossing or something like that. Mobility and capacity expansions, so passing lanes, 4 lanes, things like that. And then specialty and competitive programs, and this would be like corridors of commerce or the Minnesota Freight Program, local partnership program, railroad crossings, things like that. And all of those, since they were competitive, they had a score anyway, so we just use their process and give them the scores that they get out of that. So like I said, again, most are pavement and bridge. Even if they have a safety element in it, we score it based on the dominant work type. And then, all those ancillary elements are decided through the scoping process. And we typically scope projects in years 6, 7, and 8, depending, if it's a very complex project, we might start it in year 8, and if it's a more simple project, in years 6. Sometimes they might fall to year 5 if they move around in the program, things like that. So we'll talk about some projects today that have been fully scoped, and then we'll talk about others that have not even started the scoping process at all because they're further out. So you have a bigger map of the whole district. I'm gonna flip through here, and then I kind of zoomed in. I left it as the SRDC areas, but zoomed into the southwest portion of our district. And you'll notice, we do hear sometimes that the northeast gets all the projects, but you'll notice there's a significant amount of work in the southwest portion of our district over the next 10 years. And a lot of the projects, even the bigger projects in like Candiota County and others, are from outside funding. That's not part of the district's normal programs. So like the Wilmer Y is federal funds outside of our program, the Highway 23 4 lanes outside of our program. So just wanted to point out the investment in the southwest part of the state. And then talk about some specific projects in Pipestone County. The first is the famous Highway 23 project happening in 2024, from basically Pipestone to just north of Highway 91. And I know we've talked about this before. It is still a mill and overlay. We are replacing the bridge in Pipestone. I will just mention there's a bridge in Florence or near Florence that we had programmed for 23 last year, and we bumped it back to 24 in this round, partially due to funding target reductions. And we were hoping to get that done and then do the road, but doing them the same year won't impact construction either. So that is moved back, but it is a separate project. This project is $10.7 million, and we'll pay for it in 24 and 25. And Ryan Barney is the project manager on that. So if you had any specific questions, you can contact Ryan. This one is fully scoped. It's letting not next summer, but the following. So, or actually probably letting in the spring, construction in the summer of 24. So the next one, this is a new one. It's a safety project that we applied for safety funds for. So this would be kind of one of those specialty programs in the project scoring. And this actually, so in Pipestone County, it's on Highway 30, but there's another warning system going in on 19 as well. These are automated speed curve warning systems, and I don't totally know how these work. We don't have any of these in the district, but our traffic folks have been noticing that those curves coming in from South Dakota, there's a lot of people running off the road, maybe not seeing the curves, going too fast. So hopefully these will get people's attention so they see the curve, slow down, stay on the road.
So are we talking just signage? Are we talking rumble strips or what?
They are sign systems. I think they light up. I haven't seen a picture. Have you?
No.
Okay.
I just know they light up.
Okay.
The
I've never
price
seen
tag's a little scary, $355,000 for signs?
There'll be 2 sets, and then it's getting the power to them and all of, the whole construction of them. Yep. So have you seen those rural conflict intersection warning systems?
Like
that
there's one by Holland.
Yes.
Yeah, it might be similar to that. But not warning you of oncoming traffic, warning you of the curve. So we shall see. I don't have a lot of experience with these, but our traffic folks think that these will help solve the issue of the run off the road crashes there. Then the next one is planned for 2028. This is on Highway 75 from Pipestone Creek Bridge to basically the south end of town in Lake Benton. So it'll meet up with their reconstruction the prior year in 2027. This will be a cold-in-place recycle and overlay, so longer life fix. 6.8 million. We'll pay for it in 28 and 29. And Jesse Volamic is the project manager. He's also the project manager for the Lake Benton reconstruction, so he'll have a lot of experience in this area and some good continuity probably of the 2 projects.
How about Highway 75 south of Pipestone? If it's not on the map at all, that means it's not in your radar at all?
It means it's not a project, not necessarily not on our radar, but it's not a programmed or planned project at this time.
It hooks up to the other districts, and that one is red in their district. Are they gonna do anything faster, or would they coordinate between the 2 districts, or?
When we have abutting projects, we meet with the adjoining district to try to either coordinate them or separate them enough where there's not, especially if you have to have detours like one year after the next, try to avoid that.
I lived a mile off of that intersection corner for 40 years, and you could tell the maintenance difference between the 2 districts.
Yes.
And lately, it's been noticeably worse, to tell you the truth.
Yep.
For which side? Our
Both
side.
sides.
Both. Okay.
I live in Edgerton right now, and access west, it's either gets to 75 and you either turn right or left, and both of them are bad options.
So maintenance in terms of plowing, snow, patching, all of it?
Snow plowing has gotten worse in the last 5 years. It used to be the state was Johnny on the spot, and doesn't seem to be anymore. And the whole thing through Laverne, 75 through Laverne, that's a nasty road. Somebody told me the other day they went from here to Black Hill or to West Coast and back again. That was the worst road they were on. From 75 from Laverne to the Edgerton corner, which is the other district's problem, not yours, but.
Yeah.
That's even reflected on page 2 where you talk about pavement condition. That is listed as.
Yeah.
It's red there.
Yep.
And you'll remember I said District 7 was the worst before we were. So they're still working on getting to their roads. We can find their
Just don't forget
10-year
us.
Yep, we can find their 10-year plan. I can't remember if they have it in there or not, but we'll find D7s.
I want to say, I think they do, but I think it's quite a ways out, like 28 or somewhere.
27, 6 in my line.
27, 8, somewhere in there. but,
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think there'll be much left of it by then, but
But at least I have an answer when people ask me what I can do about that road, except tell them it's a state road, I can't do anything about it. But today I can, I guess.
Yes,
Talk to
yeah.
you.
Yep, and we, we do, things change, right? So conditions change, and again, like I said, we're gonna be examining all of our poor segments here, and you might see this map look really different
Okay.
next year, because we can't just keep the good roads in good condition to get out of it. We do have to fix those pores if we're gonna get that almost 19% poor down, right? You can't ignore the poor roads if you want that number to go down, so.
Thank you for your consideration.
Yep. Okay, I didn't talk about this project yet, so yeah, north of Pipestone, oh yeah, I did, and the project manager is, oh, sorry, I have the wrong one up on the screen. Okay, the last one then, in Pipestone County is on Highway 30 for 2029 from the border, Minnesota-South Dakota border to 8th Avenue in Pipestone. This, we're planning a thin mill and overlay, 1.6 million, and again, it's not scoped, so we don't have a project manager assigned yet because it's so far out there. So if you have comments about, things that shouldn't be included in this, we will be deciding that in the coming years, so, yes.
And if I can bring up some old history that's not so pleasant. You
Sure,
speak
sure.
about Highway 30 and the thin overlay. The one that was done going to the east here was that 2 years ago?
2 or 3.
I mean, within a month, it was breaking back up again.
Okay.
I think that's the frustration of everyone, throughout the district, is that a lot of the Band-Aid fixes that have been done in recent years they're just not long-lasting enough. I mean, a few years go by and it's just as bad as it was before you started, and it just seems like you wasted millions of dollars and for nothing.
And I will say, maybe 10 years ago, the strategy was kind of a lot of thin fixes so you could cover more miles. We've since changed that, and we're trying to address, a variety of fixes and try to, your money doesn't go as many miles, but hopefully it'll last longer. And so like the cold in place recycle was on 75, so again, bigger fix there, but we still can't do it on every road. We'd really like to.
And we realize that,
Yeah.
that the traffic volume, there's a lot of truck traffic on that. It really gets pounded up, but it was frustrating. We were so pleased to see that area addressed, and within a month,
Yeah.
it was tearing back up again. And if I can beat you up on one more item as
Yeah.
well too, while I'm being a
Yeah.
bad guy here.
No problem.
You talked about the Pipestone Creek Bridge that was redone. Why did it take so long? What was the delay? There was a holdup of some kind there.
So that's the one closer to town, right?
That was the one north
that
going out of town on
just-
75 that was done last year.
Last year.
I
last
think
year.
Part of it, and I mean, I hate to blame the railroad, but coordination with the railroad.
It was a mess.
Yeah.
It was just a train, literally a train wreck. It was awful.
Well, and a lot of people don't realize this, and they think we are regulators, but we don't regulate nearly as much as we get regulated. So, I mean, we had to work with the Corps and the railroad, and
Was there a breakdown of the planning? Because my understanding was is the day they moved in, they started tearing up the bridge deck. They got stopped, and it sat
I'll
for a
have-
month before
okay,
anything else got
I'll have
done
to
again.
look into the, once it moves into construction, it leaves my head. So, but we'll follow up on that, and
And we realize things happen sometimes, and we understand that, but it is frustrating.
yeah.
It certainly disrupted the flow of traffic through town and everything else. And
Okay.
Another question regarding truck traffic. I noticed you had counters out on 23 recently. Are you able to distinguish between car versus truck traffic?
Yes, yep.
can you provide those numbers to us when you get them?
I can give you, we actually have this interactive mapping tool with traffic volumes, and you can filter out by heavy commercial or all traffic, and you can filter by year, and it's a really handy tool, so I will get that link.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's nice, even I can use it well, so it's pretty easy to use.
So this is available to the public then?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep,
perfect.
it's, I forget the exact name of it, but it's just a link with a map, and you can filter by what you want to search on, and it even has local roads where we do counts for
Okay.
locals, so it's pretty comprehensive.
Great.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, that'd be appreciated.
Yeah, because we do use, percentage of truck volume too to help us make decisions about projects and things, so.
I noticed it was mentioned when 212 was funded recently,
Yeah.
they mentioned the truck volume too,
Yeah.
as one of the reasons that they got funded.
Yep, yeah, actually, we applied for some freight funding this past year after we did our freight plan, and we were really successful with that. Got a couple projects, so, yeah, I will send you that link.
Well, hopefully we should try to seek some of this federal funding that we know they're gonna spend some big amount of money.
We
Yeah.
just keep waiting.
Right, I know it's dragging out as far as I'm getting it done, but, I think the public's demanding that a certain amount be spent. It's just, whatever amount they determine, I guess, but
Yep, yeah.
whatever it is, it's gonna be a lot, and we should certainly try to get our piece of the pie, I guess.
Yes, yeah, we've been, as an agency trying to prepare and have projects, we call it on the shelf, so we've been working on them, but, that's hard to get ahead too, because, how much time do you spend developing things if they might not get built, and,
I'm hoping that the timing works out, because this Pipestone to Russell in 2024, might be one of those where you can say it's ready to be upgraded, and, if a new pot of money had come along,
maybe it would probably push the project, because you'd have
even
to
if it delayed it,
redesign.
it'd be worth it.
Yeah, and I will just say, and I think we've talked about it before, but the strategy for going concrete on some, like 23 by Granite Falls, is where we have our full depth bituminous. It seems to be working the best, and that's not this segment, and so, I don't know if pavement would make that decision or not, just given what's out there, but
Maybe
But
it
who
could-
knows?
Maybe it would be upgraded to a full reconstruction then.
oh, sure. Yeah, there is corridors of commerce funding after
And it
this
is a
last.
corridor of commerce.
Yep, after this last bill, so, again, who knows what we'll see there too. So we're kind of in lay and wait mode
Sure.
right now. But, yeah, any final thoughts?
Any other
One thing,
questions?
Mr. Chairman, just seem anecdotally, I can't put anything, but the truck traffic seems to increase heavily on all of our roads through town. The Highway 23 corner by the McDonald's, with all the truck traffic turning left, it just chews that up. And in the wintertime, even the potholes come back. Just, you drive to Marshall on 23, it's almost like 2 trucks a mile you're seeing, and I have to believe that just the weight of the trucks is really ripping up our roads versus if it was all car traffic. But,
Yeah.
we gotta have heavier roads for heavier loads, and the loads seem to be getting more and more and more, and we get wind tower traffic through here, a lot of that. So our Highway 23, 75, it's just all busy roads through here, and when we're at the intersection of 3 state highways, it just needs a lot of attention.
Mhm. Well, and we do see the projections for truck volumes are going up.
Yeah, they're going the other way, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we know that they're projected to go up, and so.
A lot more farms now have semis that didn't have those 10, 20 years ago.
Or 2 or 3.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, my husband farms, and they have a couple, so, yeah. It's poor township roads, really, too, yeah.
I think the number of overweight vehicles on our roads are greater than in other parts of the state.
Yep.
Between the wind turbines and other
Right,
bigger
yeah,
farm
the-
operations. And
Kind of the whole western side of the state
Yeah.
really sees that, yeah.
But at the same time, from a commerce standpoint and from a smaller community, we realize the importance of, to our community, is that traffic through town.
Oh, absolutely.
Any indication or ideas of what the thoughts are as far as bypass?
Right now, I would say we have no thoughts of bypasses anywhere.
Can we keep it that way, please? We do not need a
Given
bypass.
our funding, I don't see any
Yeah.
bypass
Yeah,
happening.
from a commerce standpoint, bypass would be very, very detrimental to our economy here. We don't need that. But we need the roads that we have maintained, not replaced.
I think you'll
I'd
be
say we
okay.
need to have them replaced. They're bad.
No, by replaced, I mean.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Reconstruct.
Not reconstructed, not moved.
Not relocated.
Not relocated, yes.
Well, the problem when you do that is you still have the original road, and now you have a new one, and now you have to maintain even more than what you
Right.
started with, so.
Another area is of contention is roundabouts. You mentioned roundabouts earlier. And could you expound on that at all, or what any future plans are for roundabouts in our area?
We don't have any planned
Good.
in
Can you
this
keep it that way?
area. We have some planned in the eastern part, actually a couple of them on 212 and 15, and in Glencoe, 212 and Morningside. And where we typically like to put them are places where there was a signal or maybe an always stop where we've had fatalities. If we just have a lot of, property damage crashes, those aren't necessarily the best spots, right? Because roundabouts really help to reduce those fatal and serious injury crashes. So if we're not seeing that, we typically
Roundabouts
do something
do
else.
slow people down.
Yep.
They do, because you have to just get around the.
Yep. And sometimes, we've talked about it in Marshall, a few different places on 23 to kind of calm traffic through their bypass, which doesn't really act as a bypass all the time anymore. But we don't have anything programmed or planned.
And is the term J-turn, is that the other terminology used as well too? You mentioned Marshall, I know you've got a couple you just put up there last year.
Michigan left, they call it.
Yep. The nice thing about those is that if you're on the main line, you don't notice any difference, right? You just drive like normal. Like if you're on 23 through Marshall in a truck, doesn't impact you at all. It's just that cross traffic. And the thought is if you're taking a right, the T-bone crashes that are so dangerous happen when you're taking a left, so.
Aren't they more head-on though, when you make that left and you gotta make a basic U-turn to get going back the other way?
So you're
facing right into traffic. You could probably better sight line, but.
And you're just merging, right? So we like you to pull out and drive forward instead of, sometimes totally across. So you'd pull forward, so you're just merging, and it might be like a side swipe versus a T-bone or right angle if I'm gonna be trafficky. And then you just merge again. So the merge, if you hit another vehicle when you're merging, it's less likely to be severe or fatal. And that's really, part of our Towards Zero Deaths effort is, okay, we might have a few more property damage crashes with roundabouts. I mean, we know those can increase sometimes, but I think the statistic for Minnesota is still that where we've installed a roundabout, there has not been a death. Now, there might have been one at a J-turn, but prior to that, I mean, it's really, the reduction in fatal and serious crashes is significant.
There was a fatal at the Saratoga in 23 one less than 2 months ago, I believe.
Oh, okay, so that's new.
There was a fatal there. Someone turning right to go southwest on it and got hit.
And I understand that these
Those
are
happen.
problem areas, and there have been some successes with the roundabouts.
Yep.
But maybe they need to be redesigned a little bit, maybe a larger diameter or something? I mean, especially with the big trucks.
I
they
will,
can't
I will say our first ones were kind of small, and we have redesigned them. And what we do now is we'll kind of run the turning templates for standard vehicles, or not, standard semi-trucks, so your 53-foot long trailers.
You get doubles
But we
and-
also will pull all the permits for the oversized, overweight, and make sure that traffic, whatever's been going through can fit through. And some of those are really large. And they might not be able to drive through it like you or I would. I mean, a lot of times anyway, they've got a pilot car or they need state patrol to help them through intersections already. And there's a lot of restrictions in their permits beyond what they'd have to do at a roundabout. So it might not be just driving through it, but they could make it through.
Would a windmill blade be able to make it through a roundabout?
Yeah, so the one at 7 and 71, we designed for that. Now, again, can they drive through it like a car? No, but they can get through it.
They can move
And we
through.
can, we design the signage to collapse when they go through and then be put back up and things like that. So I know a lot of people sometimes still don't like that that's how they have to go through, but can they fit through? Yes.
Well, as people become more acclimated to them, will improve. But right now, it's really confusing.
Yeah.
It's just.
Have you ever seen the video on YouTube of one in Kentucky where people are going the wrong way?
Yes.
I'm just glad it wasn't Minnesota. But none planned for this area right now.
If you know where you're going, a roundabout is not so bad. You know which turn you're gonna make, the first, second, or third.
Yep.
But if you're looking for street signage, that's a problem.
Yeah, harder.
Because then you're in the wrong lane.
And then if you get inclement weather or even just dark.
Then the lanes are gone.
Yep. If
I mean, we do try to light them pretty well now, too. I mean, there's a lot of signage that goes into those things. But, yeah, and we've heard from some freight haulers, they like them because they don't, like if it wasn't a four-way stop before, then they don't have to wait for a gap in traffic. They can just go through, or a signal that they don't have to wait at the red light. Just depends. There's pros and cons.
Can you also give us a little bit of an update on this pilot project you got for the pedestrian crossways?
Definitely. That's a great question. We should have done that from the get-go. Maybe I'll have Megan talk about that so you don't have to listen to me anymore.
You're tired of getting beat up on? No.
No, but Megan's been in charge of it. So, yeah.
We have been working with the city of Pipestone to do a demonstration project. There's two intersections, 4th and 5th Street on Highway 75 and 23. And so we paint where there could possibly be concrete put. And so the one intersection is a bump out, which means you bring the curbs out so that to get across the actual highway, you're, as a pedestrian, don't have to go as far to get to A to B.
And the cars can see you better.
Right, and it actually narrows the highway in that spot, which actually slows traffic down a little bit. And the other sample that they're trying is a center median. So you would get across one lane of traffic and then wait in that middle concrete island and then cross to the second leg. And so we have QR codes on the sidewalk there. You can take your phone and answer a survey, or you can go on our website or go to City Hall, and I think City Hall has a link on their website as well.
Yeah.
So it'll be up for at least 30 days. It went up on July 15th. And it's just to see some safety improvements that could be made for pedestrians and bikes to get across the highway. So.
If that were to be a permanent installation, then where you've got the center median, then obviously right now you look at it and says, well, how is the snowplow operator going to possibly work here? But that's not the long-range plan. It's going to actually be a concrete curb and so forth. They'd be able to plow around.
Yes.
Right.
And we've worked with our maintenance staff, so this is our second year doing these test projects. And now, do they love the idea of more curb in the middle of the road or on the sides? Not really, but they've all said, we can work around it. And it'll be fine.
The delineators are just a visual
Right.
line.
Yep,
They
yep,
wouldn't be
I
there.
understood that
Yeah.
concept. I
Yep.
was-
Yeah,
Well,
no, it's hard to kind of,
And that's where we got people confused a little bit last year, is they thought they would always be there and then didn't want a permanent project. So
No, did anybody ever inquire further north, down by the Casey Jones Trail?
That's what I was wondering.
we have been talking to the city about that for years. And we, both sides have just decided, I mean, there's just no good solution. And the city's been talking about maybe moving the trailhead, but then can't find a really good spot to move it.
And where do you move it to? Because it
Exactly.
still has to cross the highway somewhere.
And so we thought with this, maybe people could get across and then still walk north. We'll see how that goes. But we have been talking about that for years and haven't. There's so much truck traffic there, and now that the elevator is back, that just makes it harder. And the thought was just encourage people to drive there, which is not, kind of defeats the purpose a little bit, but.
Well, and the concept is for that trail to be extended to the west anyway, because as the other trails that we've got going out toward Indian Lake and so forth, just saying get in your car and drive across the road, no, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, but we've been talking to them for years about how to do that. And they had a bikeable community workshop a couple years ago, to try to get ideas too. Yeah.
And stoplight is absolutely out of the question there, huh?
I mean, I would imagine it doesn't meet, the volumes don't meet warrants for a stop. But I haven't done the.
Why does, because it's the same volume of traffic that's on the south end of town on,
Well, sometimes things get put in, years ago, maybe they did, and then we just don't pull them out unless we have a project. But let me write that down for our traffic folks. Because I know they did kind of reposition the stop sign out there a number of years ago, kind of paint the area to define
yeah.
it a little bit. And
which gets run over quite often, broke off.
Remember
That's the
them-
other thing about that pedestrian crossway, again, that peninsula, what would scare me as a pedestrian, standing there watching a semi come barreling down at me, thinking, well, I hope he realizes he's supposed to go around this and not over it.
Other questions? Thanks for coming.
Yes,
Thank you.
good to see you all in person.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, later, feel free to contact either us. Our info's on the back, or ask Nick, and he can ask us, whatever.
Keep us in mind if you come up with any additional funds to try to upgrade that project on 23.
Well, I'm guessing there'll be a Corridors of Commerce solicitation coming in the next,
Get some good stimulus money here.
so keep an eye out for that too.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, last item for me today is our bid opening. These are some box culverts up in the northeastern part of the county. We have a completion date of next year on them. I don't know if anybody will be able to get pipe anymore this year. We'll see. So that's how it's set up, though. Looks like we have 4 bids. So I'll get started here. The first one is from A&C Excavating out of Marshall. All right, their bid, $414,645.56. $414,645.56. Next bid is Larson Crane Service out of Worthington. Their bid, $534,310.50. $534,310.50. Third bid is from Midwest Contracting out of Marshall. The bid from Midwest is $385,328. $385,328. And the final bid is from R&G Construction out of Marshall. Their bid, $402,383.20. $402,383.20. Yep. Engineer's estimate was $451,116. $451,116. Domain was unable to attend today, so I guess I would like to award to Midwest Contracting contingent on his approval of the contracts and bonds.
Mr. Chair, move for approval.
Okay.
I will second.
Any further discussion?
We worked with Midwest before,
Yep.
so just a matter of checking their numbers, make sure there's not a math error, and then having
Yep.
Domain check the contracts, so.
Yep. And I'll report back on his findings, which I would assume would be fine, so.
Great. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else to be brought up today?
Chairman, just reminders, regular board meeting on the 10th. On the 24th, AMC Fall Policy Conference coming up. I'll be watching for the registrations for those. I think everybody has already decided who's going to that, so as soon as I see that that's open, I'll go ahead and get registered and get rooms set for you guys, so. And obviously the annual conference in December, and then budget meetings coming up in August and September, so.
Insist on rooms upstairs, not
If
downstairs.
I have a choice, it's all done by computer, so.
Well, if you call and talk to somebody in person, you can make some requests. I guess the sooner the better.
Yeah.
So, would like upstairs rooms.
Thank you.
I'll do my best.
Thank you. Anything else to be brought up?
Move for adjournment.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're out of here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. We'll see y'all at 1.
Take care.
Yeah.
Heartening not to even be a color.
Yeah, that's right.